Everyone expects the next global war to start with missiles. But modern conflict begins somewhere quieter, inside supply chains, currencies, factories, and invisible economic pressure. The world's strongest militaries avoid war not because they fear fighting, but because winning today could destroy the systems that keep them powerful tomorrow. China, the United States, and Russia aren't restrained by peace treaties. They're restrained by fragile economies, global dependence, and costs no victory can repay. This isn't a story about weapons. It's about why pressure replaced invasion, and why global competition now feels constant, slow, and impossible to escape. For centuries, war built empires. Territory changed hands. Resources shifted. Victors grew stronger. Today, that logic no longer applies. Systems now determine power, not conquest alone. Modern strength depends on networks spanning continents. Supply chains, finance, and technology rely on trust, continuity, and coordination. Interrupting them harms everyone, even the aggressor. Factories halt. Energy grids fracture. Trade routes close. Capital retreats. Even victorious nations face long-term weakness. Destruction no longer guarantees dominance. It spreads instability globally. The cost of war is measured differently now. Lost growth, broken confidence, delayed futures. Weapons and lives matter, but economic and systemic damage defines modern risk. Military power still exists, but its role has changed. Strength comes from preserving systems. Restraint becomes a tool. Aggression creates risk instead of advantage. Strong nations compete fiercely yet cautiously. They wield influence without destroying networks. Victory through war is no longer strategic. Survival and growth now depend on system preservation. The United States does not conquer to gain power. Military strength protects the systems that generate influence. Trade, finance, energy, and alliances form the foundation of dominance. Direct war threatens these foundations. Markets destabilize. Confidence in contracts weakens. The dollar system strains. Aggression today undermines the very structures that give long-term strategic advantage. Deterrence replaces escalation. Military presence sets boundaries. It signals consequences without triggering conflict. Power is expressed through posture, not destruction. Stability becomes the tool of influence. Pressure often arrives through sanctions, export controls, and coordinated alliances. These measures impose cost while preserving systems. Disruption is discouraged, not forcibly punished. Predictability maintains leverage. American strength functions as insurance. Allies are reassured. Capital continues flowing. Institutions remain credible. The threat of conflict exists but is managed to avoid breaking networks or markets. In modern competition, restraint outperforms aggression. Military power works silently. The system thrives because force is unnecessary. Survival and influence come from protecting structures, not destroying them. China's power depends on continuity. Factories, logistics, exports, and energy access drive growth. War threatens all simultaneously, disrupting production, trade, and employment across industrial regions. The risks of large-scale conflict outweigh potential gains. China competes through positioning, not confrontation. Influence expands through infrastructure, market integration, and manufacturing scale, quietly reshaping networks over time. Military strength exists primarily as defense. Its role is deterrence, raising the cost of interference while protecting long-term development and uninterrupted industrial and technological progress. Stability allows learning curves to compress. Industries mature, productivity rises, and momentum compounds advantage. Disruption resets decades of development, making restraint the most powerful strategic choice. China emphasizes patience. Endurance matters more than spectacle. Avoiding system-wide shocks ensures investment, trust, and industrial growth continue, even while others falter or respond to crises abruptly. Power grows through uninterrupted momentum. Strategy prioritizes functionality over aggression. Remaining operational while competitors stall creates leverage, influence, and long-term dominance without triggering immediate confrontation or risk. Russia uses military power differently. Force creates leverage but cannot sustain long-term growth. Its economy is narrow, exposed to shocks, and sensitive to prolonged conflict. Large wars strain industry, finance, and demographics quickly. Military action secures short-term objectives, but extended conflict weakens the underlying system that supports Russian power. Pressure is applied selectively. Escalation is contained. The goal is influence, not collapse. Strategic restraint ensures internal stability while signaling resolve to rivals and allies alike. Sanctions, capital restrictions, and technological isolation reduce flexibility over time. Military strength compensates for economic vulnerability but cannot replace diversification or structural resilience in the long term. The balance is delicate. Too little force diminishes leverage. Too much erodes stability. Russia's actions reflect calculated risk, prioritizing survival over expansion or immediate gains. Power without economic depth must be handled carefully. Military influence signals resolve, raises costs for others, and maintains strategic options while preserving enough system function to survive. Modern competition avoids decisive battles. Pressure works better than destruction. Sanctions, export controls, investment limits, and standards shape outcomes without collapsing systems entirely. These tools slow rivals rather than shatter them. They target weak points while preserving global function. A delayed factory damages power more than a destroyed city. Capital hesitation changes behavior faster than occupation. Pressure feels constant but indirect. It can escalate or relax. War cannot once unleashed and spreading beyond control. Governments prefer instruments signaling strength without systemic shock. This creates permanent tension. Companies adjust supply chains. Countries diversify partners to reduce exposure. Innovation accelerates under constraint. Pressure reshapes incentives quietly, rewarding resilience and punishing fragility. The public perceives friction, not conflict, as systems adapt. The battlefield is compliance, access, and continuity. Victory is invisible. It appears as survival, adaptation, and sustained relevance over time without open confrontation. Deterrence does not stop conflict completely. It contains escalation. Major powers respect limits. Crossing them risks mutual damage that no side can absorb without severe consequences. Shared awareness stabilizes behavior. Military strength signals capability. Economic depth signals endurance. Together, they define boundaries that keep competition manageable and prevent uncontrolled escalation between global powers. Pressure is applied just below thresholds. Responses are calibrated, not maximal. Smaller conflicts happen but remain localized. Systems continue operating despite tension, preserving global continuity. Trade flows adjust. Finance reroutes. Technology adapts. Deterrence preserves functionality while rivalry persists. It prevents sudden collapse while enabling gradual, manageable rebalancing between competing powers. Risk is not eliminated. It is distributed over time. For people, uncertainty exists without catastrophe. Governments manage pressure constantly, maintaining stability without public acknowledgement of precise limits. Stability is not absence of conflict. It is conflict contained carefully within understood boundaries. Everyone knows the rules, even if they are never openly defined or declared. War is avoided because modern systems are fragile. Economies depend on coordination, trust, and timing. Large conflicts disrupt all three instantly, creating recovery that can last decades. No major power can afford lost growth. Skills erode, capital relocates, influence quietly fades. Endurance, not aggression, now defines advantage in prolonged global competition. Power accumulates through adaptation. The fastest to absorb pressure and maintain functioning systems gains influence. Military force remains relevant as boundary setting, not a decisive tool. Future conflict emphasizes management over conquest. Pressure replaces direct invasion. Strategic alignment substitutes domination. Stability, rather than victory, now preserves leverage and systemic strength globally. What appears hesitation is calculation. What looks like restraint is strategy. The world operates controlled, not peaceful. Breaking systems would harm all participants, discouraging escalation. Competition continues without end. Survival depends on early understanding and positioning within systems. Stress must be managed before it becomes irreversible, shaping modern international behavior permanently.